Hello.
Hello, my people. Come on in. Welcome to our Wednesday time together. I hope you've eaten lunch. If you haven't, I hope you're eating now. I need to be eating. I should have eaten before, but I was in South Africa. I'll tell you more about that. Bessie Weaver, good to see you. Kathy Bourne, Cynthia, good to see you. David, wonderful. The Saints have come marching in.
I see. I see. Went from 0 to 85 quickly. That's good.
Yeah, welcome back, Tamika. Y'all say hi to Tamika. Tamika's been chasing her young one for the last few weeks,
Oh my goodness.
all around the
Good.
barn. Tamika, I want to talk to you about some things we talked about in staff meeting this morning. Um, hey, everybody, welcome. You're going to like this. You won't regret being with us today, folks. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. You know, one of the things, Tamika, that we've been able to do, we did it when we were doing our podcast, which we will continue to do in a few weeks. Um, it was so exciting to scour the country to find people doing marvelous things. I'm going to try to get the young lady with the fingernail school back on.
Yeah, she's been doing really well. I follow her on Instagram. So she's done some COVID related pivots, but she seems to be doing okay, which is good.
I need to know how to reach her on Instagram. Send me a link.
Okay.
I think about it all the time. So what I love about what we're doing, this FinFest, you know, was an expansion of last year's Debt-a-thon. And what occurred to me was that the difference between what we do in this event, like we did last year, is that normally we talk about, well, I guess webinars are more educational, informational, sometimes inspirational, and that's important. But when we did the Debt-a-thon last year, what we decided was that it would be dedicated completely to connecting people for immediate help, because people need help.
Yeah.
So this year we've got, I mean, you're going to be shocked when you see the lineup. We've got businesses that are willing to mentor small businesses. So if a business is just starting, they'll be able to come to the FinFest and connect with a mentor who will help them think about and build out their business strategy. In fact, I just talked to a lawyer yesterday. I talked to a Hispanic lawyer who specializes in wills and estate planning. So I'm going to have her come because, as you know, many of our people go all through D3 and still end up with no will.
Yep.
No living will.
That's the biggest gap. That's the biggest gap. People do everything else and then they stop at that point for some reason.
Well, because we can't talk about death, you know, it's an emotional barrier. And she's bilingual, and we've been underrepresented with our ability to reach the Hispanic community. But you know, I want to thank you publicly because the Prudential sponsorship is what makes this happen. And when I first started talking to Prudential, they gave me headaches. So I called you and I said, look, Tamika, your job is to preserve and protect the Prudential relationship. And you had meetings with them and meetings about meetings. And we still have as many meetings. We meet 2 or 3 times a month at least.
That's not bad.
But no, it's, I mean, you had a vision for Prudential, and Prudential, you know, after all of these years has kind of landed where we need them to be to partner with us properly.
Good. No, I'm excited about FinFest. I think last year's Debt-a-thon was really exciting because you got to see people take action immediately. If they needed help with budgeting and planning and paying off bills, they just shot over to GreenPath. If they needed help with something else, they could go see Prudential. Or they, you know, all the resources were really right there. And so I think, you know, I've seen the lineup for FinFest. I saw like a preview of the website a couple of days ago. I think it's up now.
Yeah.
But it really looks exciting. It's entertaining, it's inspiring, but it's also about taking action. So use these next couple of weeks before FinFest, guys, if you're planning to attend, to get your ducks in order. Pull your budget out, pull your will out if you had one, pull your, financial documents out, because you can get some immediate help those days that we're actually hosting. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna talk about it today, but the Friday night piece, we'll talk about it in detail. I think by next week we can talk about it. The Friday night piece is something brand new. We've never tried it before this way. And it's gonna be fun and hopefully funny. But I wanted to ask you, you are participating in the FinFest. Is it FinFest? Oh yeah, no, you're participating this week, I think, in the
The webinars.
just yeah.
Saturday, Disrupting the Wealth Gap. Yep.
What is that? What is that?
So we did a session where we really got people to, Brittany actually had gathered some people that had real life testimonies around what they needed financially. And so it was myself, the gentleman from GreenPath, and the woman from Perscalis. And we talked about all the different resources. And of course, me representing the D Free Foundation, of how we could help people to deal with immediate kind of financial need and financial crisis. And so on the foundation side, you all know we have the D Free Academy, which is where you can go through the D Free curriculum, immediately solo, in a group, leading others. We have $1 Billion Challenge, where you can create your debt pay down plan, create your savings plan, and get started right away. GreenPath was excellent. He talked about all the resources that they provide to help people navigate if they have really dire debt situations. And even if it's not dire, you just want some relief and you want to maybe reduce your interest rates, they can be a great partner for that. And then Perscalis, which was a new resource I had not been familiar with, but they offer free technological education for people that want to go into the tech field. And the
Really?
only real commitment is time. You sign up, you register for the class. It was a really, really excellent session. And so we had an amazing conversation. It was about 60 minutes. And we talked about the different resources we offer and gave people the real life connection to get started. So it's the Disrupting the Wealth Gap webinar series that we're doing on Saturday mornings in preparation for FinFest. And
Yeah. So I don't know about Perscalis, but I'll watch it and learn. So folks, meet us Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. This is the third of a 5-part series called Disrupting the Wealth Gap. And again, it's informational. And then you can sign up for FinFest, which is help. And if you want to sign up for anything that you hear or that you have heard coming from D Free, you can sign up and connect with the actual resource. You can sign up for classes. You can sign up for financing if you're trying to flip houses, which is our subject today. You can sign up for mentoring if you are in business, and you certainly can sign up for the D Free Online Academy. You can do that right now. Just go to mydfree.org and sign up, because we're trying to get you ready for 2022. But I appreciate you bringing the Academy right alongside all of those other resources, because we worked hard to have them and we worked hard to build them. And as recent as this morning, we saw the work being done to even upgrade and improve the Academy that just went up this year. So it'll be good. Now, today we are going to be talking with a young man who is another example of what's going to be offered at FinFest. Nipsey Hussle was one of the iconic young men whose death galvanized a network of young people around the country. And one of his themes was to buy back the block. And a lot of people talk about it, but this young man that we have today is actually doing what many of them talk about. So I've got him and the leader of a national network of young people, mostly guys who are in the neighborhood who want to learn. And what D Free is doing is connecting someone who is doing to a lot of people who want to do. And so the conversation will start with Artris Williams from Chicago, who represents this network that he calls JEGNA. And JEGNA is being connected to Will Holly, who is our expert guest today, in their effort to buy houses in the hood, fix them up, and sell them at prices that are affordable for the people that they care about. So let's go to the interview. And folks, don't forget, you can ask questions during the presentation, and you can register at our various websites, dfree.com, mydfree.org, dfreefoundation.org. And I'm sure, listen, if you're not motivated or inspired today, then you probably should join the Episcopal Church or something. Go somewhere else, because this is the most exciting I think we've had. Welcome, everybody. This is the road to FinFest. We normally call this Wealth on Wednesdays, but during these Wednesdays, during this season, we're on the road to November 19th, 20th, and 21st, when we're having a 3-day financial festival. And we're doing it because most of the time when you're asked to come to virtual events, online platforms, people are telling you things they want you to know. At our FinFest, we're going to be hooking you up and connecting you to people who can help you do the things you either need to do or want to do. That's what FinFest is about. And every Wednesday, we're giving you a sneak preview of the quality people and the substantive information that we're going to have at FinFest. We'll tell you much more about FinFest later on, but for today, I am so excited because there's a young man that's going to be in our conversation. And then there's another young man that's going to help me with this conversation. And both of these young men, in my mind, represent the future of our community. We talk a lot about what we ought to be doing and what should be happening and what Black men ought to be doing. I like talking to brothers who don't talk about it, but do it. And these two young men are exactly the kind of young men I like to share with and support and motivate and whatever else I can do. Our special guest today is someone who has taken Nipsey Hussle's theme of buying back the block to a level that you've never seen before. And I'm telling you right now, you don't know anybody like this young man who has taken 1,000 houses. Yes, 1,000 houses. He's bought the houses, he's renovated the houses, and he's sold the houses, which I could go on and talk about the implications of that, but a lot of people talk about it. He just does it. His name is Will Holly. And Will, I just thank God for you. Thank you for spending time with us and joining the D-Free movement.
Oh man, thank you for having me. This is an extreme pleasure. I know God's presence is here. The day that you called me, I'm very involved in my business, and there's a lot of people out there who teach real estate and have online courses and things like that. And my mother was all in my ear saying, you're doing something phenomenal, and it'll be great if the rest of the world or even our community could benefit from what you're doing. I said, Mom, I don't have any time. I wish I could stretch myself, but the reality is the difference between me and people that are teaching it, they have a full-time job teaching. I got a full-time job running a real business. And if it wasn't for outlets like this that you set up, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do this, because this is my real passion, which is giving back. So just thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, first of all, Will, it is, in a practical sense, very, very hard to talk about what you do if you're busy doing what you do. And right. To your point, there are people who are famous, really, and rich, who talk about doing things, but they don't do them, you know?
Right.
But you're doing it, and because you're doing it so intensely, 1,000 houses, who has time to stop and tell people what you're doing? So I appreciate the fact that you have been focused with laser-like precision on the task, because now you've got something to talk about. Now, I want to introduce you to this other young man. His name is Artris Williams. We affectionately call him Butter. If he was older, we might call him Buster, but you know, he's a young version of Buster. He's in Chicago, and Butter is organizing a national network of street organizations, of OGs, you know what an OG is, of hip hop artists and others who are committed to revitalizing their neighborhoods. And they literally are committed to a campaign called Buy Back the Block. But I'm glad to see you. And I'm sure you must be inspired already, just sitting next to a guy who is physically doing what you and your team is talking about doing.
No, thanks for having me. I am excited, and then to find out he's a year younger than me makes me even more hopeful.
Hopeful, that's what you'll say on camera. I'm sure there's some other emotions mixed up in that. But listen, but let you start, because I've got a lot of questions to ask Will based on the things we plan to do. But when you meet a guy your age, basically, who's done 1,000 houses, what do you think your network needs to hear him say about his work? What question do you have for him that you really need answered?
How'd you do it? I think that'd be the most asked question, but I think that you'll find nowadays it's not just the act that people are interested in. So I know a lot of guys would just want to ask some personal questions like, man, what's your discipline look like? Like, how focused did you have to be to get there? Right? Because as we talked about right before we got online, it takes a lot of discipline to do a lot of things. And when some brothers are here at this spot where we're at now, you got to look at the history that they came through. So you would assume that they're further along, but they're really not. I often tell people all the time, I'm a pretend street Negro. I grew up in Japan. I grew up in Cali. I grew up all over the globe. So you can't really constitute me as what you would call a street Negro. How I got involved with the streets to come out later on. But these brothers have really been through a lot of stuff, a lot of things. Most of them, 10 years in prison is like a minimum requirement, and they say once you come out of prison for 10, you're still in the same age that you were when you went in.
Mhm.
And so honestly, besides just, hey, bro, teach me how to buy houses, you would be shocked how many basic questions like, man, you got any kids? How do you spend time with your family? And what's the balance? And not in a judgment way or a whoa, you're amazing way that I can't do it, but more so like I'm trying to attach myself to what you do so I can learn how to do it in the situation that I'm in right now. Right. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, so Will, I'm glad he took us there, because that's really the beginning. It's who we are is different than what we do. And unfortunately, a lot of people have their entire identity wrapped up in what they do, so that when the what they do changes or goes away, the who we are becomes quite elusive. So let's not talk about what you do. Let's go to Brother Williams' question and really talk about who you are. How were you raised? What kind of discipline did it take? Let's talk about your values and your character that brought you to this kind of business.
All right, we're going straight in. My mother and father. My mother was 14 years old. My father was 14-year-old when they had me. I always say my father, his trade was pharmaceutical sales. He just never got FDA approval for the stuff that. But he, raised Trenton, New Jersey, and Trenton, Camden, Newark. All those things kind of bear the similar type fruit. And I think I would categorize myself as being street smart, a firm believer in God. My values, I value family hugely. And real estate is a very capital intensive business. Meaning you need a lot of money to buy. It's not like you're selling sandwiches or something like that. When you're buying 1,000 houses at, $100,000 a piece, you know what kind of money that is that you got to raise. So right on what you guys were saying, I think who I am first helped me in this business. Because when you have to bring on investors or banks or whoever that is, you have to be a solid individual and somebody has to trust you in order to do that. So who I am, I think that's my foundation of where I get my upbringing from. I value family, value God. And I'm just going on a journey from now on. I'm not like I have a strategic plan, but God just keeps showing me the next level, and people come down and they come for me. Like the short story that I told you, me wanting to reach out to people. And it's a hard job to get like a platform of this amount of people to reach out to. And you just say, hey, Will, you come over here. Here's a platform for you. So that's really what's been going on with my career.
Yeah, that's great. But before you leave, and I talk about Will, about his business and about the FinFest role that he's going to play, how do you plan to get more guys like you connected to what we're doing?
Well, Will just talked about the portal and the system that you've set up is helping us. It's going to be an amazing tool for us to use, right? Because again, a lot of brothers don't even understand, and I'm just speaking with brothers, that's what I deal with, but sisters too. Like the whole concept of debt or how to spend money or getting loans is like, again, it wasn't stuff we had to think about. We had money coming in fast and we were moving stuff fast, so nobody really had the time. So now to catch up at 40 years old, 30 something years old, to play catch up, um, just learning how to say no to debt and how to stay focused. And again, I always use discipline. That's going to be a major way to get in, because one thing people don't like failing. And by partnering with you guys, it's not going to be a guarantee, but it's going to be a sure way that a lot of people can win more. And just seeing other brothers that live the model is also like, we don't need much. People just need to see other examples. I might not be exactly you. I might not buy 1,000, but I'm gonna do 100, and I might inspire 10 of my guys to do 10. We're gonna be at 1,000, in a short amount of time. So I would say connecting, uniting, empowering brothers is the way I plan on working with you guys to get there. And just already listening to Will say, his father's history would be familiar to a lot of the guys. You understand what I'm saying? And that would just, I try to tell preachers all the time, bro, if you want more people in these churches, I would suggest that you tell them about what you've been through, not your perfect life. Because once we see you living perfect, we be like, man, that ain't me, bro. I'm already just a rat. Like, just show people where hell is, because that's where I'm gonna end up at, bro. But seeing Will is like, oh, bro can do it both ways, and he cool. Like, he ain't got no stick up. He, all right, man, dude, cool. Hey, bro, this, that, and the other. So it really, I always encourage people, black men, man, I don't care what the brother got, tattoos on his face, locks, nothing. Man, have a conversation with each other. I guarantee you'll be surprised of what you learn and how much you can help somebody just with the stuff that you think, like, man, I did that when I was 20. They like, man, that brick right there just saved my life. Like, I needed that type of stuff. So just uniting brothers and engaging brothers. I tell people about Buster all the time, and until recently, until we did the call, they thought you was a myth. They like, bro, just trying to keep us in good spirits and act like it's a Negro name. Like, nah, bro, it really is a dude. Why would he help you like that? I'm like, bro, it's still black men that do, bro. But we have to be set up so he can do. Ain't no crybabies over here. We got to be set up so he can do. So again,
Will, last week, Will asked me what cities we're going to be connecting with primarily. Could you just, I know you've got to go, but could you just give us the top cities where you've already made commitments to guys to introduce them to Will?
Well, first and foremost, of course, Chicago, right? And we're at a point where we need to be able to buy back the block, because they done flushed us all the way out the city. And we'll talk about that later on. We used to have the biggest vote for black folks for a number of times for the Democrats, and we're losing that. But Chicago, LA, specifically Long Beach, Compton. We're doing Minnesota is real heavy. We're doing Atlanta real heavy. And a new town that I'm exposed to is Boston, which I love Boston every time I go up. Of course, we got New York. And let me be clear again, I did not create this synergy of brothers. All these brothers that I'm talking about, and I'm talking there's at least 60 to 70,000 brothers, they always in street organizations, or what some people call gangs. And it's like, nobody talks about what happens to them afterwards, right? It's like, yo, they're still your brothers, they're still your husbands, they're still your fathers. Right. So we have to learn how to take care of each other. And so, yeah, those are main cities: Chicago, Boston, Minnesota, LA, Atlanta, of course. And we got Detroit that we just made lands with, that they definitely want to jump in, and the more I heard I'm on my way to Pittsburgh, and already in one day full of phone calls, I'm getting, oh man, I was trying, I just didn't know what to do. So those are the cities we real heavy in, man.
Yeah. Don't leave out Newark. We are in New Jersey.
Oh man, photo.
We can't leave photo out.
Hey, but when he said Trenton, listen, it's a barber in Trenton. And it's your son's homie.
Trenton?
Yeah, what's bro? Man, his name, bro name is Jasper.
Jasper? I don't know.
Oh, you got to get one of the most inspirational dude. When I tell you, when Jasper speaks, it reaches Harlem in 5 minutes. Wow. Like, he that man. He's that man. He a good dude from Trenton. And his boys go from Trenton to New York to LA in 30 minutes, bro. And we all love him. He a barber.
Yeah.
Well,
Right
He
brother,
after
wasn't
this.
listen,
always a barber.
brother,
He wasn't
thank you
always
for
a barber.
thank you for stopping by. I know you have a previous commitment, and I'm gonna let you go, but I had to make sure Will knew that you weren't a myth, because I've been telling Will about you, and I wanted to make sure he understood that you a real guy with flesh and blood, and I wanted you to know that Will is not a myth. Will is the man, and he's committed to allowing us to really leverage his experience and his contacts, and if necessary, his business to do exactly what you're talking about. So you can tell the brothers help is on the way. All right.
They be watching it, man. I appreciate both of y'all.
All right. Thank you.
Nice meeting
You too.
So Will Holly, you know, I met your mother around the time I met you, but I didn't realize she was your mother.
you. Right. I remember.
You know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. So let's talk about this business because, as you know, I've been involved in housing development in low income neighborhoods. And what I love about what you do is that among the many benefits that accrue from your work, you really resolve the issue of gentrification. You know, a lot of us, I did a series with a group of leaders in Portland, Oregon, and they kept crying, gentrification, gentrification. And I said, listen, the only way you can stop gentrification, you can own the property. Once somebody buys property, the market will determine what they do with that property. So let's talk about how you actually got started in this business.
So I was a banker by that's what I like, banking. And banking you get certain clients, and there was a client of mine who led me to the book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki book. I'm sure you read it. I'm looking at you
Great
now.
book, great book. Great.
So he gave me the foundation of how passive income works. So my first move was a 4-family house. I had horrible credit. When I went to go run my credit to try to get the house, my score was like 5, whatever, something like that. I had before I went to college, I had bought some Timberlands and something. They got me to the register. They said, don't use that cash, use that card. So I charged it up and then went off to school. And you know, a pair of Timberlands turned in about $4,000 because I think the attorneys, they were selling the debt and it was putting, you know, fees on there.
Yeah.
So you know, when it was time for me to buy a house, they explained to me that I owed that amount of money. That's why my credit score was so low.
So Will, let's pause right there because you said something quickly I want people to hear. One pair of Timberlands turned into $3,000 to $4,000 worth of debt. That's why when we talk about financial freedom and creating wealth, we start with debt, because if we don't understand debt, if we don't know how to manage debt, if we use credit to finance a lifestyle we can't otherwise afford, then that's bad debt, and that debt will pull you down. Now Will's going to talk later on about another kind of debt that he uses to create wealth, but don't miss that one pair of Timberlands turned into $3,000 or $4,000. So you learn the way I learned. You learn by making mistakes first. That's how I learned.
Right. So, you know, you feel bad, like you shouldn't do that to an 18-year-old kid. But however, you're 18, you can sign off and your debt. So fast forward to 23, 24, I had to deal with it. I did negotiate with my debtors. I let them know my situation. I got a book about debt and credit cards. One of the suggestions was that, you know, just because it's $3,000, $4,000 that they say you owe, that means that you can't negotiate. So you could always tell them, look, this is what I have in my account. Being honest, will you take this? One debtor took it, another debtor took it. My next move, my mother signed me onto her American Express card that she had for a while. She made an agreement with me. She's gonna sign me onto the account. I picked up her payment history, but she got the credit card in the mail and ripped it up and did it, which I was fine because she really didn't need to do that. But she wasn't privy to that. Once I joined that account, that I pick up some of her history. So she didn't totally understand it. That was her precaution to make her feel good. But anyway, that shot my score up. I got some secured credit cards, paid that stuff up. And that got me to like the 620 that I needed for FHA 203K loan. So the 4-family that I bought it with an FHA 203K loan. That loan.
Can you just explain what that is, FHA 203K?
Sure. So this is the loan that I think this was probably my best house that I ever bought, because the FHA 203K allows you to gives you money to buy the house, and it also gives you money to renovate the house.
Right.
So I only had to put 3% down. I bought the house. It was a 4-family house. with a garage in the back that they used to ship college desks out of. So I bought the house with, I think, about whatever 3% of $115,000 is. I still didn't even have all of that. FHA allows you to accept gift funds. So my mother patched up the deposit for me to get the house. I bought the house with total about $8,000. Maybe I had 5, she put 3 in. I put the down payment down. I put $50,000 into the house. That was the renovations on it. So I bought it for 115, put 50 in it. Now note, at the time there's 4 units and a storage place in the back. So each of the units rented out for, I think, $900 a piece around that time. So 3 times 9 was 3,600. Plus I rented the back out for like $400. So it was close to like $4,000 that I was getting per month. But I was staying in one of the units. I lived in one of the units, so I didn't have any rent to pay.
Right.
So the $4,000, and this is a great. I don't want nobody to go out looking for this deal. This is a great deal. If you got something close to this, it's still good. So $4,000 coming in. The mortgage was about $1,300 a month. I didn't live lavish at the time. I had a Dodge Intrepid.
And you still worked at the bank.
And I still worked at the bank.
Right.
And I was teaching part-time at a behavioral school. So I was doing all 3 of them. See, while I was at the bank though, getting the little salary that I was getting, I figured out how the bank's loss mitigation department worked.
Right.
So back then it was Commerce, which was a mid-sized bank. Right. So during certain times of the year, they sell off certain parts of their inventory. And if their inventory doesn't sell quick, they discount it at a mid-sized bank. I also figured out from the guys that was in banking how small banks work. So small banks were your mom and pop banks, under $1 billion in deposits or whatever. You can go knock on those doors and they'll give you the properties. It's a lower hierarchy as far as how they dispose them. So I got to the point where I had about 9 properties. And I might have been cash flowing anywhere around $8,000 a month. This was all in 2 years. And I was working myself sick, and I figured out I may not have to go back to work again. I was so institutionalized. Right. I was getting a little check for the bank, something from the behavioral school, but I was making so much more money doing real estate. I was just working myself crazy. So then I think it was one day I took off for something. I just worked myself into tired sickness. And I said, why am I doing this? So I went to the bank. I asked them to go part-time. I said, I just need my benefits. They told me no. I went back home that day, searched like a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. It was $600 a month, priced it out, stamped it that night, went back to the bank the other day. The next day, they said, guess what, Will, we got your benefits for you. I said, it's too late. I got them that night. So that was the end of me like working for someone else.
Now, how old were you then?
I was 26.
Right. You were a young guy.
26.
Young guy.
And it's funny you got that book, How I Retired, because I read that. That's a very smart young lady that wrote that book.
Right.
But anyway, that was how I started. After that, what I figured out is I said I in order to do real estate, I think I needed to know finance the most. So then I became a loan officer, Promised Land Mortgage, downtown Trenton. Chris Johnson gave me a shot. So I started originating loans. After about 6 months of originating loans, I then bought my own mortgage branch, which was an Apex mortgage branch. It was a company down in Florida that allowed you to franchise for free. I got about 6 or 7 loan officers who were processing loans also. So I had a mortgage company, and outside of that, I was also doing my real estate deals. It was funny when I realized that I was in a good position and I didn't have to work anymore because I was bored out my mind. I had a feeling. I said, you know what? I don't want to go on to McDonald's. I don't want to start like a Burger King franchise or like anything like that. So I said, I'm bored. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start 3 businesses at once, but they're all going to be involved in real estate, but they're going to be set up as an integrated platform. So what I mean by that is when I get a property, I wanted a property management company that can manage the properties for the people I sell it for. I already had the mortgage company, and then I had a construction company that I all tried to start, at the same time. So when I did that, the idea was do turnkey real estate. So for people who wanted to buy real estate, they didn't have to learn every little piece about how to do real estate. They could basically just go to my company, buy a property, everything's there for them. So that was a huge success. Turnkey real estate became a big thing in like 2008. And I figured out it was people all across the country that were setting up these shops like that. So that's where we started doing a whole bunch of properties in scale. We were selling properties over the internet from Trenton to people in Hawaii, Australia, all those things there. And they were buying right over the internet from African American inside the hood. So we scaled that. I scaled that with a partner, and we were doing at tops maybe about 150, 160 houses a year is what we were doing. That lasted until about 2017. We had a great run. We split that partnership up, and now I still have the business, the Holly Nance Group, which we don't do as many. We'll probably do 80 to 100 properties a year, but that's what we do. We'll get out of the 100 properties, we'll split them up into 3 parts. One thing that we'll do is we'll say 50% of them, we will buy these properties, renovate them, and resell them to a homeowner.
I see.
The other 25%, we will buy them and we will rent them out to someone who wants to rent.
Mm-hmm.
The small portion of the other 25% of the properties we get, we sell them off wholesale to other investors who want us to find properties for them. They'll pay us a fee, and we just dish them off property.
You just buy and sell.
I just buy them and sell them.
Are you using the investors' money to buy the houses, or you buy with your own money and then you sell?
We can't. So in New Jersey, you used to can do that. You used to can use the investor money who's buying off of you for you to buy.
Right.
You can't do that anymore.
Right.
That's when you need supporters, investors, people, people to come in and help you out. We appreciate your support, but you need investors to do that, to come in and buy those properties and resell them, because you can't use the investors' money. You need capital inside the business to do it.
Sure. So are you using any institutional financing?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so we are. We still do use which is called a private lender or hard money lender, whatever you call it, who provides you with financing to buy the house and renovate it. This is outside of the FHA 203K, because the FHA 203K is just for homeowners who want to live in the house.
Right.
So now we do use commercial lenders outside of California who fund the renovations that we do and the purchasing of the properties.
Yeah, that's great. Now, by the way, Will, this is the road to FinFest on November 20th. We plan to make you available for guys like Butter Williams and his network who have questions they'd like to ask you specifically. We plan to have another presentation by lenders. We have a lender from California, a company that lends people money to do what you do. They'll be there. We have a church financing company that will finance churches. And then we also have debt counselors and others. That's what the FinFest is about. FinFest is about giving people who really want to do things a chance to connect with people real time and talk with them, ask questions, and maybe invest or become an investor or learn how to attract investors.
That's why
I'm excited about you, because we can make you available without infringing on your precious time and taking you away from your business. So that's great.
I need a FinFest about 15 years ago. I still have a full head of hair like you.
I know, Will. You really bootstrapped this thing. And let's talk about that, because you perfected the art of raising money, not just from your own mother, but from other people. I mean, how do you convince people to invest in your business?
I'd say the thing about raising money, people do give money to your business, but they give money to you, the person. And what you started out with was, how do you separate yourself from who you are? Sounds cliche, but you got to be a quality individual. Just even with your regular surroundings, you got to do what you say you're going to do. You got to show some discipline. And investors don't like giving money to people that are everywhere. They like to see you focusing on one thing. Most investors are successful themselves, so they can call nonsense from 200 miles away. If you're out there trying to raise money and you know that you're a little messy and you don't have a proven concept on you flipping your own money, I'd always like scaling it back. If an investor's not going to give me money, I got some other things that I could do to work on myself to show an investor that I'm worthy of getting money. But I think going out there asking for money prematurely is people's biggest issue, and it's where they get cut off at, and then it becomes a lack of confidence because they weren't ready to go and raise money, and then they go out and get defeated because they prematurely did it, but they really could go raise money if they built up that foundation. I think really your platform really puts people on. I mean, getting debt free, I think is the first step towards asking someone for some money. I think everybody knows by now the way you handle your business, the way you handle your personal finances is kind of the way you handle your business.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, no serious investor is going to invest in someone who is sloppy, whose credit is bad, who pay late fees all the time. I mean, we don't invest in businesses, we invest in people. You're exactly right. Now, on the 20th of November, I'm going to ask you to give a little more detail, not today,
Mhm.
a little more detail about how do you find the houses? You talked about knocking on the door of a bank and they'll give you a house. You're going to have to unpack that because
Oh, yeah.
not today, but folks, on the 20th of November, you're
Right.
going to hear Will answer specific questions. And I know that's one of the questions. Let me just ask you this, however, out of these 1,000 houses, you must have had a couple of, I'll call them dogs, or a couple of failures. I mean, talk about maybe a challenge or two that you encountered along the way, and how you got past it.
Yeah, without a doubt, you can't have failures without doing that. With doing that many houses.
Right.
I had so many failures. Man, biggest failure, and I won't balk it up into one house, was hiring contractors. Hiring contractors, and I always say you got three things. You got quality, speed, and price. Quality, speed, and price. Only pick two of them. That's all you're getting from a contract. Pick your two. You're getting quality and speed, or you're getting the other two. So, picking out contractors was the biggest failure, I think, as a bulk for me.
Yeah.
And I could help with that. Once we dig into it, it's got to be your business as a real estate developer on how to vet contractors.
It is so hard. It is absolutely the bane of my existence. I've sold 3 parcels of real estate this year, primarily because I could not find the contractors I needed to take care of those properties. And it just became so stressful. And, I had COVID this year. I said, look, let me sell. I'm coming out now. I'll make my profit. And the stress of owning a property and you don't have the right help, or trying to convert a property or rehab a property, it is absolutely, it's painful. So yeah, I get that. And every problem I've ever had in real estate has been related to the contractor. Now you did one thing. I brag about you all the time, just based on Willingboro. Could you just kind of give us a snapshot of the Willingboro story? Because I think of all the things you've done, the Willingboro story it's one for the books. You need to be in magazines, on television. This is a great story.
So I think we found Willingboro in 2013. And then people that don't know the history of Willingboro, William Levitt built Willingboro. Mr. Levitt from Levittown, Pennsylvania. And I'd say 1940s and 50s, he built this small town, a population of about 40 to 50,000 people. I think it's 8 subdivisions in Willingboro. And they built 4 kinds of houses. They built Cape Cods, colonials, ranchers, and something else. So we figured out in Willingboro with those 4 style houses that if we went in there and did an architectural design for each one, knock some of the walls down and create an open concept, that we can scale a redevelopment plan, which is hard to do in redevelopment or reconstructing, because normally every house that you do is different.
Right.
So in 2008, that's when the subprime crisis hit. And it hit Willingboro the hardest, because now at that point, it wasn't all white Americans that was staying there. It was predominantly Black.
Right.
And they were the ones that were getting these loans. So Willingboro had an abandoned property issue where people were just leaving the houses because they owed $300,000 on the house that was only worth $100,000.
Yeah, it was huge problem, huge problem.
It was a huge problem. So the township, when we called them, they were basically like, we don't know what we're gonna do. Because when the property becomes vacant and someone leave it, the township maintenance is that house. They mow the lawn, they secure it because they don't want anything happening in the community. They try to uplift, this vacant property so that people still want to come. So they had about 800 abandoned properties at the time. So when we went, and very nice houses, when we went, we said, look, is this somewhere where we can set up, raise about $10 million and do 100 houses? From the 800 that they had, of course, we couldn't get to all of them, but we did size up a plan where we can get to the 100 of them. Now, we did a multitude of different things to get those 100 houses. Some of them was we did contact the city and say, look, if you have any houses, give them to us. We're here. We're trying to get them back to the community. They was a big help. We also got a whole bunch of REOs. So at that time, REOs, real estate owns. That's when the bank took the houses back from the people that they had the loans for, and now the banks own them. So the banks owned a lot of these REOs. We got those, and we also bought a lot of them via short sale. So for some of these people that owed 300 and their house was only worth 100, of course you can't sell that. That math doesn't make sense. So we would buy them via short sale, where they would call the bank up and they would tell the bank, look, I have this group, the Holly Nance group. They want to give me $100,000 for my property. It's only worth 300. If you agree to do the deal, we'll sign off for the deal. And the banks were very willing and able to do that, because if the banks don't do short sale, the next step besides short sale is they go into foreclosure. And banks don't like going into foreclosure because then they got to pay an attorney. They got to pay a whole bunch of other fees. They rather just sell the property via short sale. So through those outlets, we were able to do over 100 houses where we bought them from REOs, word of mouth, and we bought some of them via short sale. When we went into Willingboro, the median house price fixed up was around 160. From what we started, the houses once we left was going for around 250. Now, why this was a spark to redevelopment was because, and a lot of developers are followers. What I mean by that is nobody wants to be the first guy in the water to go test. So in Willingboro, while everything was sitting, when we went into Willingboro and we recreated this colonial house, a lot of other investors went on the market, saw the house that we did, and then they went and they redeveloped the whole, they started doing the same thing. So a lot of that creativity, that we look to provide, is a catapult to a lot of these areas that really don't have another outlet, because people don't want to take chances on these areas.
Yeah, it's a great story. Willingboro has a Black City Council, Black Board of Education, a high percentage of Black homeowners, and it was hit very hard, as Will said, very hard in the mortgage crisis of 2008 and beyond. And a solution didn't come from the city council, and it didn't come from the state legislature or the governor. It came from an entrepreneur who has a passion for his community and has a willingness to work hard and has a business model in his mind. And if you look at Detroit, which is still suffering in the neighborhoods, even though downtown's coming back. You look at Flint, Michigan, where the property values plummeted because of the corrosion that was in the pipes that brought water into the city. If you look at Compton and East St. Louis, Baltimore, you will see larger examples of Willingboro. And I think, Will, your expertise connecting to people who live in those communities and would like to do what you did is going to be transformative for our people. And we'll do like some of my rich friends say, you'll do good and you'll do well at the same time. And so I love that Willingboro story. But what I can't figure out is why you're sitting here looking at the books on my shelf. You're supposed to be looking at me. You're reading all the titles of the books.
Because it looks so similar to my library. I'm like, oh, where you sitting at? Those some good ones.
I do happen to have more books about money on this side of the room than that side of the room. But listen, Will, first of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to invest in a very valuable and important and lucrative enterprise. People come to me all the time wanting me to invest in their business or wanting me to help them grow, but it doesn't always make sense. Your business makes all the sense in the world, and I'd like to see it scale out even further. because you are doing good and doing well. And thank you, moreover, for understanding the value of our D-Free movement and your willingness to contribute in ways that can not only benefit communities, but help younger people or older people who are having to shift in this new economy and figure out ways to replace income from jobs that'll never come back and ways to add supplementary money to the income they make on their jobs. So folks, listen, this is Will Holly. By the way, at our FinFest, not only do we have connections and we have resources, we also have entertainment. And among the various people, we have gospel artists, we've got jazz artists, we've hopefully got some hip hop artists and R&B. We have a jazz artist called Will Downing. So I've got Will Holly teaching you how to make money, and I've got Will Downing, whose music will inspire and soothe you while you're celebrating the money that you've made. So listen, folks, it's go to dfree.com/FinFest, share the information. You have to sign up, but it's all free. And this is our commitment. Last year, we did a focus just on debt, and it was called Debtathon. We've expanded it. We've got people there. Will talked about buying a franchise. We will have franchise experts there to explain to you how to buy a franchise. We've got SCORE, an organization of retired executives who will voluntarily connect you with a business owner to be your business mentor. So this is a big deal. It's 3 days. Friday night, we're actually going to have a D-Free comedy concert filmed in Atlanta with a great comedian. I'm not going to tell you his name, but it's a great weekend. It's a great way to go into the holiday season to ensure that the commercial entities of the world don't benefit from that season more than you do. So thank you so much. I'll answer some questions if we have a little bit of time. There's a survey for you to complete, and there are resources that you can access even now before you get to November 20th. So thank you so much, Will Holly. Thank you. Tell your mom I said hello, and I look forward to working with you on our FinFest.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So listen, isn't this exciting? Let me tell you what's so exciting to me. We had 176 people on the webinar, and 173 stayed until that was over. Can you believe that? Give yourself a round of applause. We are going. This is just a sample. This is not even an appetizer. This is one of those little samples that come around, during the reception, before the appetizer, before the salad, before the meal of our FinFest. And Will is going to be there live. He'll be answering questions. And what we're doing between now and FinFest is we are taking his process. We're talking strategy with him and trying to figure out how to take Artris Williams, who has an organized network, and they're building a technology platform, D-Free and Will Holly, to have a systematic way of helping people in various ways. Some people need to know how to raise investment capital. Some people need to be connected to Will to take advantage of his construction resources. Some people just need motivation. Some people need money. We have a lender coming to FinFest who lends money to people that do the kind of business Will does. In fact, we're introducing them to Will. And so FinFest, if nothing else, is going to be a solution-based event for a lot of people who are tired of the talk, just talk, and they're ready to do the walk towards financial freedom. Of course, the foundation for all entrepreneurship is how you handle your personal business. That's why we have the D-Free Online Academy, because at the end of the day, if your credit is bad, if your bills aren't paid, if your cash flow is low, you're just dreaming. If you're talking about doing something entrepreneurial, you're just dreaming. You want to pull that together. The other thing I've learned is that the way I run my business is really an outgrowth of the way I run my life. And if my business is going to be effective financially, it's because my life has become effective financially. You heard me talk about some of the mistakes I made when I started in business. So I want to thank Will Holly, thank all of you. And for those who yet have questions, you can send us an email, info, I-N-F-O, at CorpCom Inc., CorpCominc.com. You can always reach us at the D Free Foundation. There are multiple ways to reach us. You can reach me on my personal website, dbsoaries.com. It's 12:57. And if there is a closing question I need to answer, I'll be happy to do it right now. If you look in the chat, you'll see links to all of our significant platforms. We're about to merge our platforms so that there's a single port of entry for all of our resources. We're getting closer and closer. By January, we'll be there. But in the meantime, just get to us. Get to us. Ray, I hear your passion. I see your questions, and I'm expecting to include you in the inner circle of what we plan to do around this country. What I've learned is that we don't have to start from scratch, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. D3 is not trying to be the smartest or the best at anything except connecting people to resources that already exist. This young man has already done what many of us are talking about. So why should we try to create a new model when we can simply promote his model? That's what D3 is. And that's what our team is doing. And I want to thank all of you. Some of you are here because you're here every single Wednesday. And I want to thank you. We're going to send you a link to this webinar. And I'm asking you to distribute it. If you have some suggestions, if you have some thoughts about what you'd like to do to promote FinFest or to promote Will Holly and flipping houses, let us know. Let us know what it is. We can't think of everything. We're a small team. If you give us a good idea, I promise not only will we execute the idea, but we'll involve you in the execution. So thanks for joining us. Have a marvelous day. Eat your lunch if you haven't. Chew it well if you're still eating. And I look forward to seeing you. Oh, tonight, listen, tonight I'll be on Instagram Live with somebody named Ash Cash. Don't ask me anymore. All I know is that he's got about 10 times as many Instagram followers as I do. And if I can hook up with somebody named Ash Cash to get the word out, I plan to do that. So if you have an Instagram account, look for me around 8 o'clock tonight, Ash Cash. And if you go to his Instagram site, you'll understand. But he's an Instagram activist who gives out information on cash. And I'm going to hang out with him tonight. You know, young people are more creative than us old people. So I just hang out with young people and let them teach me how to teach you. All right. God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And I'll see you tonight on Instagram.